The rise of software as a service has brought about unprecedented convenience and accessibility to media consumption. However, this convenience comes at a steep price: the erosion of ownership and control over the very content that we access. In an era where software as a service dominates the way we consume media, it is essential to examine how this shift in technology intersects with the themes of censorship, consumerism, and ownership that have long been explored in literature and film. One of the most striking parallels between software as a service and the works of Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451 can be seen in the concept of media banality. In Bradbury's dystopian novel, books are outlawed and any form of dissenting thought is met with swift punishment. Similarly, the proliferation of software as a service has led to a situation where media companies have become gatekeepers of content, deciding what is deemed worthy of consumption and what is not. This curation of content creates a homogeneous landscape of approved media, stifling diversity and dissenting voices. The 1984 novel by George Orwell serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of totalitarian control over information. In this dystopian society, the government exercises total control over every aspect of citizens' lives, including their access to information. Software as a service takes this notion a step further by creating a system where consumers are at the mercy of corporate gatekeepers. If a company decides to remove a title from its catalog or alter the terms of service, users have little recourse but to surrender access to the content they've paid for. Demolition Man, released in 1993, and Equilibrium, released in 2002, both serve as cautionary tales about the dangers of unchecked consumerism and corporate control. In these films, consumers are conditioned to crave more, leading them to abandon their individuality and autonomy in favor of a hyper-consumerist culture. This echoes the reality of software as a service, where users are encouraged to upgrade their plans or switch to competing services, creating a cycle of dependency on corporate providers. The relationship between software as a service companies and government is particularly noteworthy. In many cases, these companies have worked closely with governments to implement censorship measures, such as content filtering and data collection. This collaboration raises questions about the nature of ownership and control in this new landscape. If we're willing to surrender our rights to access certain media, are we also surrendering our agency over the information that shapes our perspectives? This slippery slope has significant implications for artists and creators. With software as a service dominating the media landscape, it's increasingly difficult for individuals to maintain ownership and control over their work. Any change in a company's terms of service or policies can result in the removal of content from users' access lists, leaving them without recourse but to pay more or switch to competing services. Ultimately, this situation highlights a fundamental tension between the ideals of consumerism and the concept of ownership. If we give up our rights to own media, do we also surrender our freedom to access it? The answer lies in recognizing that true access to information is a fundamental right, one that should be protected from the whims of corporate gatekeepers. As we move forward into an era dominated by software as a service, it's essential to consider the implications of this shift on our collective rights and freedoms. If we can't possess something, then our access to it can end, and the consequences are far-reaching indeed. Thank you for listening.